Would I be the butthole if I reported my daughter's teacher for not pronouncing her name correctly? My daughter's English teacher refuses to pronounce her name correctly. She has a Japanese name and we live in Japan. Her name is Kanae, pronounced Kanae. Recently, Kanae told me that her English teacher, an expat from America, at school calls her Kanae. She told me that she told the teacher my name Kanae. It's 3 claps, syllables. But the English teacher told Kanae that she was incorrect, and that grammatically speaking that she, her teacher, was correct. During my daughter's sports day I confronted the teacher. I explained that my daughter would like to be called Kanae. But she laughed and said she was pronouncing it the way it's supposed to be but will try her best to remember. Today, my daughter told me the teacher still calls her Kanae. My daughter is very shy and it took a lot for her to correct her teacher the first time. I'm considering going to the school in the morning. But is that an overreaction? For some clarity, I am not Japanese, my wife is, so our kids are mixed race. Our kids are fluent in English and Japanese. Not like Kanye West but Ka. Plus Nye like Bill Nye? Oh wow. I wrote this late at night and went to sleep. I didn't expect it to get this much attention. Thank you for all of the responses. I can't reply to them all. But this morning we couldn't go, son had an earache, but we are going there after school ends. We asked our daughter if she wanted us to tell. She said that she didn't care. We don't want the teacher fired, we just want our daughter respected in her classroom? Update, I'm not sure where else to place it. But my wife and I went to the school today around 3:45 p.m. By then the English teacher in question had gone home. We told the principal everything that I've told you all and he was extremely apologetic. He did say that maybe it was a language barrier. But I reminded him that my daughter and I both told the teacher in English how to pronounce Kanae. So then the principal called her dispatch company, Interac it turns out. The same thing happened. The company apologized but tried to pass it off as a language barrier thing. More apologizes were issued when we told them we spoke English. We were told that Interac would speak to the teacher, and that they would handle it. The principal asked us to come to the school Monday morning. I'm hoping to talk to the teacher face to face on that day. Final, maybe, update. This morning I met with the school board, principal, the dispatch company, and the teacher in question. I honestly didn't expect everyone there. It was very traditional Japanese apology. Deep bows from everyone, even the American teacher. She wrote, I think it was written for her because it didn't sound natural and she made several mistakes. I don't remember it word for word but it said I sincerely apologize to our family name, and most sincerely to Kanae. She said it correctly. I now realize how important names are to the Japanese people. Please accept my dearest condolences. Yes, this was actually said. The teacher promised to treat Kanae with more respect. She also apologized for not respecting me during the sports day. Honestly, the only real thing that she said is when Kanae was brought in and the teacher kneeled down and said, Kanae, I am really sorry. It seemed heartfelt. Kanae being Kanae made the teacher a card, and the teacher teared a bit. I forgive her. So does my daughter. I have no idea what is going to happen career-wise, however. Her company seemed very upset. But my daughter feels better. Thank you all so much. NTA. I had a teacher constantly call me the wrong name, it was similar, and I stopped responding to her. She walked up to me and said, I'm speaking to you. I said that's not my name, use the correct name and I'll answer. Never had another problem. NTA. I get called Nino sometimes. My name is Nino, and I tell my mom and she emails that teacher and usually they stop calling me that. WTF is a grammatically correct pronunciation? This teacher, like so many of the woefully unqualified kids who end up as alts in Japan, is full of crap. You are not the butthole if you report this person obviously making fun of your child's name. The lion, the witch, and the audacity of this bitch. NTA. I was going to say the opposite, but because the teacher is being condescending. Jeepers NTA. It's her name and that's it. The English teacher is very disrespectful and should not be teaching overseas. I teach in Taiwan, and yes, some names might seem weird or pronounced different, but at the end of the day, it's their name, and people need to remember Japanese, Chinese, Korean, etc. names may not be pronounced the same phonetically as we are used to in English, as oftentimes their English name comes from their native language name. It's up to the teacher to adapt, and I would most definitely file a complaint. NTA, I would definitely go bring it to the school's attention. You have both corrected the teacher, and yet the teacher refuses to say her name properly. That is not a good teacher. Right. And what about the girls' homeroom teacher? They should have said something too. White people behavior. NTA. She's talking over you and your daughter. How is this idiot living in Japan? Definitely NTA. Also, should this person even be teaching when she doesn't understand that English grammar rules don't apply to Japanese names? Definitely report her. And be sure to tell them how rude she was to you. NTA, her name isn't whatever some pompous teacher declares it to be. Teacher needs a smack back, not literally, and needs to stay in their own lane. NTA. When I was in high school, my grammar teacher, don't know about the exact name of the position, she just taught grammar and the technicalities of my native language, was so bent on proving that my name was grammatically incorrect. How could a name be grammatically incorrect? I don't know. It is a name, not a sentence. She would use my name as an example too. Then I researched about my name to prove her wrong. She was really surprised that I was serious about the whole deal. Maybe she thought it was all jokes, but she stopped talking about my name after proving her wrong, at last. Your daughter tried, and you try to go to the teacher. Pronouncing a child's name correctly is a matter of respect. We all make mistakes, but she told you she wasn't trying. This teacher says NTA, go to admin. NTA. I had this happen to me as a child. I have a very common English name, and the teacher was also English. It wasn't even a cultural difference, and she told me I was pronouncing it wrong. For example, but using a different name, she would say no gi niffer. Je niffer is the wrong way to pronounce your name. Even as a 7-year-old, I remember thinking I'm pretty sure I know how to pronounce my own name. Some people are just arrogant, I think. I wouldn't necessarily say the teacher is being an ass so much as ignorant. It's definitely not okay either way. NTA, this teacher sounds awful. I will point out that I can see pronouncing names differently in the context of a foreign language as being part of the class. When I took Japanese, we pronounced everyone's name with a Japanese accent to get us more used to Japanese in general. For example, my name has an L sound that doesn't exist in Japanese, so my name was pronounced differently. It seems possible to me that this teacher had something similar in mind to help learn English pronunciation, but she should have backed off immediately when the student had a problem with it, especially since it seems less helpful in an English class due to variable pronunciations anyway. My guess is the teacher didn't like being called out and is being petty. But definitely go correct her and escalate if need be, just to reinforce to your daughter that her preferences matter. NTA, when someone tells you how their name is pronounced, just use that pronunciation, especially if it is a non-English name. I had something similar happen to me when I was in America. I have a Slavic first name, and the teacher would refuse to pronounce it correctly because it is pronounced how it's written, so I was wrong and it should be pronounced literally. At some point I was told to write it differently if I wanted pronounced the way it's supposed to. When I argued that I was writing it correctly and that is how it is on my passport, she actually had me bring in my passport and still claimed I was pronouncing it wrong since it should be pronounced how it is written. My sister's name is spelled differently from the usual way of spelling it. And when I was in primary school and asked to write the names of my family members, my teacher came over to me after I handed it in and forced me to write it the correct way, even after I repeatedly tried to say that the way I had written it was correct. Funny thing was, my sister was at the same school and her name was in their system. NTA. It's common courtesy and respect to address people, whether as child or adult, by their preferred name and or pronunciation of their name. I would definitely report it. Especially since you talked to her nicely and asked her. Also, she's trying to teach the correct Japanese pronunciation of a Japanese person's name, while in Japan. Great teacher. NTA. Do it. God, I can't imagine being named Kana A and someone purposefully calling me Kanye instead. How ignorant and rude. I am a teacher. We are essentially ordered to look over all of our students' names. I teach high school, so it is approximately 175 names, the week before school begins, and if there is any name that we are not certain we can pronounce 100% correctly on the first day of school, then we are to talk to other teachers, counselors and administrators to try and find the correct pronunciation. As a last resort, we call home and ask a parent. We make sure that the student feels welcomed because we know how to say their name correctly. The only corrections a student makes is if they want it shortened or prefer a nickname of some sort. This teacher must be reported. Side note, while teaching at another school, I had a student with what I thought was the name Monica, as in Monica, Rachel and Phoebe, as that is how it is spelled, and I live in the northern United States. So, I called her Monica. She sat with friends who would sometimes say, Monica, and really draw out the word moan, and they would all laugh. Turns out, Monica was the correct pronunciation, but Monica never told me that. Her mom called me one day and really yelled at me for refusing to call her daughter by her correct name. She was very apologetic when I shared that her daughter had never told me how to correctly pronounce it, as well as how her friends like to say it. Congratulations, this is the 1 millionth post that contains a mispronounced child's name and a teacher. Your award is the prestigious Foreigner Awareness Knowledge Exemplification Trophy. Fake for short. NTA. The teacher is being pretty disrespectful from the way it sounds, whether she agrees on the pronunciation or not. It's not her place to correct someone on their own name. I have a Czech last name that is pretty difficult to pronounce. I'd be upset too if someone else acted like they knew my name better than I did. I'd say that notifying the principal is an appropriate step, as incorrectly pronouncing the name and refusing to accept the correct pronunciation is bad practice as a teacher, and if administration does nothing about it, then it is a poor school. NTA. She is actually telling you how to pronounce your own daughter's name? NTA. The teacher's being an ass cactus about it. Do you know where this teacher is from? Because I'm starting to suspect there's some racist names or hard crap playing into this too. NTA, that's super not cool. Is your daughter's teacher Peggy Hill? Insubordinate and churlish. NTA. NTA, but be very careful. You're in Japan, not America, and the school system works differently to what you might expect. You may make your child a target of systemic harassment from teachers if you do too much, become a problem parent. I think you should take guidance from your wife on this issue. She'll have a better idea of how far it's safe to go. Oh, my wife was the one that suggested it. Also, I've been in Japan over 20 years. And I went to high school and university in Japan. I'm sorry, I didn't realize you'd been there for so long. Of course you'd know better than I how to proceed. I've only heard that once you start getting targeted for bullying or harassment, whether from teachers or students, it carries over year to year and can be difficult to stop. Obviously, that's not in the best interest for Kana A, so I was worried. The teacher isn't a native Japanese person, they aren't seen as real teachers in their education system. I doubt the other teachers would care if she got fired. Especially as she has that attitude with them. French is actually a syllable-timed language, which means you put equal emphasis on all syllables. The last syllable is often called the stress syllable, but it's not in the same sense that we stress syllables in English. That's why emphasis is so difficult for native French speakers. They don't do it at all in their language. I've recently started learning French, and after a lifetime of Spanish and English, is really hard not to put emphasis. Also, it turns out half the letters aren't pronounced anyways, so it's even more confusing. NTA, you can go overhead, but in the meantime, pronounce the teacher's name wrong. Instead of Smith, call her Smita. At least you'll prove a point. Obnoxiously use the Japanese pronunciation, Sumisu or thereabouts. My Japanese is real bad. No, you got it. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.